Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to, I believe this is the 17th episode of my podcast. It's the Mindful Steward Show or the Mindful Steward Podcast, whatever you want to call it. I just finished recording a conversation with a childhood friend of mine. His name is Quinn Welychka. One day when we were little kids, we were at a hockey camp and we kind of pieced together that he was moving in probably, I would say it's 8 or 9 houses down the road from me. So we actually grew up basically on the same street in the same neighborhood, just around the corner from each other. And more recently, Quinn has started a clothing brand called bCLUTCH, and his company is doing quite well. Honestly, it has amazing products. Really cool designs. I've been really impressed from it right from the very beginning. The branding is really on point and it's just a really cool thing. So I've been trying to plan this podcast with him for a while. We live in different cities, so it took a little bit to organize, but we finally got it recorded. I ended up picking up some stuff from him as well, and funny enough, I wore these bCLUTCH sweatpants to the gym today for the first time I wore them, and 2 people literally came up to me asking me what company they were. So he's doing something right. And obviously they're super comfortable too. So that's my little testimonial to start off this episode. But either way, I'm going to get this episode started in a second. For anyone who hasn't really followed me yet or hasn't heard any of my episodes, I am all about mindset training and meditation for performance and just how you can actually become a better person through that sort of practice. So right now on my website, if you are interested in getting a free guided meditation or a little bit of intro tools, I'm giving away a guided meditation with one of my old guests, Michelle Pound, and soon I'll be releasing a bunch more guided meditations with her as well as a little more reading content. So to anyone who subscribes, you'll get all that stuff. So I'll just put that out there before we get this started, and without further ado, I hope you enjoy the episode. I like to kind of introduce people based on how I met them.
Yep.
And I don't even know if you'd remember this. I am someone who has a really vivid memory, but
Yeah.
I remember meeting you basically at hockey camp. Like, we grew up around the corner from each other.
Yeah.
And one year we were at hockey camp at Western Fair in London. I think it was called Hockey Horizons. And we were just like eating lunch, and I asked you where you live, and you said, "Hey, I'm growing up, or I live in Byron here." And it kind of threw me off because I was like, that's right beside my house. There's no way you live there. Then we kind of pieced together that you were moving into the neighborhood. And then eventually we ended up going to high school together and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've known you for a long time. I guess I've known your brother for quite a while too, even though I never really see him. I would say hi to him if I ever did. But I think in high school I was a little more preoccupied with my snowboard kind of hobbies and my snowboard friends and yeah, you guys definitely were like basically pursuing hockey a lot more seriously. And your brother ended up doing super well. And more recently, you've started this brand that's kind of an athletic clothing brand. And I personally am at a point where I'm just super intrigued by entrepreneurs in general. It's just kind of to kind of backtrack a little bit on what my podcast is all about. It's called The Mindful Steward. In reality, the main purpose of it is to kind of talk about mindfulness and meditation and things like that. But one thing I'm noticing is that basically people who are really into mindfulness, there's kind of this misconception that it's some kind of hippie kind of like habitual thing. Maybe it's sometimes viewed as a feminine thing, but I basically read a book from Tim Ferriss where he kind of talks about all the super high performers that he interviews and stuff. And I think he said that 90% of them meditate and they're super into mindfulness. Mm-hmm. So that's when I started getting really interested in it because I realized, whoa, it's not really an odd thing to be into. It's something that high performers do. And so I really just started studying the minds of people who are doing cool things. And I wrote a lot about it. That's basically where my website popped up, is I was just having articles published in different places. And it's kind of came to this place where I have this podcast with the purpose of kind of having conversations with people who just look at the world a little bit differently than the average person.
Yeah.
And in general, those people tend to be entrepreneurs because they're just doing things that, you know, society kind of teaches us to live in a certain way, and they're kind of people who think for themselves in a lot more, just a lot more in general. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's like, you know, you go to school and you're kind of taught, get these skills so that you can be an accountant, so that you can get a job for a company, so that you can pay your mortgage, so that you can do all these basic things that are all laid out as if it's like a rule book. And then people who start their own businesses just kind of throw that out the window and just start thinking for themselves and doing what they want to do and just making it happen, you know?
Exactly. And like basically you're grown up to go to high school, get your diploma, and then go to university or college or whatever. And I don't know, looking back, I had a ton of fun at university, like playing sports there, but I don't know if I could go back. Like I think I would have just wanted to start the business a lot earlier and not have all the student debt.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, so this podcast is really, it's come full circle where I just end up interviewing people who are doing cool things because they're the people who think differently. They're the people who kind of have different routines in their day. You know, they're the people who are just really have different things to talk about. So really, I'm doing this to have cool conversations with people who are, and hear their stories and to kind of learn from people like you and hear your story about how things worked out and how you approached it from the start. So yeah, thanks for joining. I know I've been saying this for like,
yeah, we've been talking about it for like a year now.
Almost, yeah. It's been such a long time. But I mean, obviously I live in a different city, so it's been hard to pull off, but we're finally here doing this now. So
yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a bunch of questions. A lot of it is about bCLUTCH.
Yeah.
If you wanted to just kind of talk about bCLUTCH, what it's all about, maybe give a little intro about how you got started, that would be cool.
Yeah, I could give a full intro and kind of go into depth about the message bCLUTCH sends.
Awesome.
So it was about my 5th year at university at McMaster. I don't know, I was applying to a bunch of jobs. Like it was like November. I was back for my 5th year, just like one term or whatever. Just wanted to play lacrosse and finish out my last courses or whatever. And I went to Texas A&M in the summer, before that, summer 2014, to do firefighting. That was always the goal. And finished that up in August and then went back to school September, October, November, December is obviously the last month of the term. So December was nearing. It was probably October, November 2014. I was just applying to a bunch of jobs and I don't know, the name like bCLUTCH just came to me out of nowhere. It actually was never meant to be an apparel company. I was super interested in like BioSteel sports supplements and all that. And I don't know, I thought of like bCLUTCH like supplements or something, or actually like originally just an idea, obviously. And I saw it as like just kind of like a bCLUTCH like high performance like sports drink or something like that. It was just a bunch of like random ideas like right from the start. Like started playing around with some logos, all that. I think there's a website called Fiverr. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
You can just like get logos and pretty much like anything you want on there for like starting at like $5.
Yeah, it's an awesome site.
So I found out about that site, was doing some stuff there. Obviously applying to a bunch of jobs, firefighting jobs, just random jobs back home in London because I was moving back, finishing school. And obviously December came, graduated, and moved back home and started working, got a job right away. And the whole idea of bCLUTCH just kind of fell through. I was working full time. I don't know, I was just kind of like putting the dirt pretty much.
The back burner.
Yeah, I was definitely putting the back burner. Maybe like January, February, I was still like thinking of starting it. This would have been January, February, like 2015 at that point. And eventually it just got left in the back burner. I was working the contract job, got another contract job for a company called Jostens, like doing the championship rings
Oh yeah.
in like southwestern Ontario. So that was August 2015 to December 2015, just like a short contract. But I basically just went to like every high school in southwestern Ontario and just like sat in a booth and like talked about like graduation rings and like went to coaches for championship rings. And I actually had so much free time. Near like the end of it, I decided like I was applying to a bunch of like firefighting positions and all that in between. Obviously, like I don't know if you know, but like firefighting like applications can run like anywhere from like $400 to like $600.
Yeah, I have a couple friends in that process right now.
And like getting like all the certifications and like maintaining those certifications. Like obviously once you get your firefighting certification, you have that for life, but there's a ton of like other certifications, and obviously like volunteering and all that's good, like which I'm still doing, but it was tough. So I figured I was 20, 24, 25, and there was just like no better time than at that point to maybe actually pursue the idea of bCLUTCH. And like I said before, like I thought of bCLUTCH like maybe as like a supplement company, but then like after doing like all the research, that might have been a little more tricky than like an actual just like getting a few hats or something to start.
Yeah.
Like getting like a formula or something like that. And like I was always a big snapback guy. So I figured the end of 2015, moving into 2016, like I wanted to actually take a shot at it again, even. And then I picked up another job that I was working, and I was working on it like even like when I was working that job, like I would like just be sending out emails and like doing some work on the side, like at lunch, like obviously at night and stuff like that. But the job I was working was just like an office job. It just definitely wasn't for me. Like I needed to be like moving around, just doing a bunch of different things is something like I really enjoy. And once that contract finished up, I think the end of spring in like May, from like January to June for like 6 months, I was basically working on like getting the brand ready to release. And before that, I think I ordered 100 hats, told all my friends and family that I was gonna go ahead with ordering like 100 hats, like I think like 8 different kinds of eight different designs and stuff. Got those hats in, and I think I sold out of them within like 2 weeks, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, not bad.
Right there, like I knew I had something like right from the get-go. Like everyone was saying like the name and logo was like pretty catchy, so I knew like I was gonna go ahead with it 100%, and prepared for the launch in July 2016. And Alexander Swarek, like a good friend, a videographer, I knew launching the business with like a video, like a cool promo video, would just kind of make it look like more legit, like right off the hop as well. So
And it did 100%.
yeah, it definitely, the video stuff like definitely helps like 100%.
Yeah.
And it just made it look more like authentic, like right from the get-go, especially as a startup business. Like but yeah, it was just hats to start. Now it's a like full blown apparel company with just like exclusive hats, exclusive hoodies, exclusive joggers, t-shirts. Once we sell out, like I love designing, so like I'll just keep coming out with new stuff and have like a few staples. But
yeah, and now it's like just such a full-on operation with so many different things coming out all the time.
yeah,
Which is super cool. I mean,
yeah,
right from the start, I was really impressed because, I mean, at the time I was kind of traveling around. When you first launched it, I was really taking my sweet time in life in general. I was just enjoying myself, you know, kind of fresh out of university, traveling and stuff. But like I've always had an interest in branding and just design and creativity, all of those kind of aspects that go into launching a new business. So, yeah, I was super impressed when you first launched it because everything was super well designed. It really was clean and like well done. And I like didn't, I honestly, when it came out, I was like, I had no idea Quinn was so intuitive with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like, were you always like that? Like,
Yeah, like I guess like not in like a flashy way, but like I've always been like super artsy, like especially as a kid. Like I always was like drawing pictures, and I don't know, I wanted to be like, I was like writing books and just like random stuff, especially like even with sports. Like I always liked, I don't know, once I'm like get bored with something, like I always like move on to like the next thing type thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I like the whole like exclusive culture of like releasing something like in minimum quantities, and then like once that sells out, then I can like make something new again type thing.
Yeah.
And then you're just not stuck with that like same staple. Like obviously it's good to have like a few staples like for the brand. But yeah, like going back, like even in like sports, like I had like a skateboarding phase. Never like snowboarding or anything like that. Like I was terrible at snowboarding. I thought I was gonna be good, and I was brutal. But like I had a skateboarding phase where I was like pretty good, for a bit, and then like basketball. Like I don't think I ever liked soccer. Like I played baseball one summer, but I was always like just like
experimenting
like a ton of different things, and like this business has kind of given me like a new hobby of like video and like just photography and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's one thing that I've noticed from your content really recently is that, well, I mean, Swarwick, I know he lives in LA now.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him a little bit about that when I was there in the fall. But yeah, like he used to make all your content,
Yeah.
right? Or all your video stuff, and now you're still putting out stuff that's really good video wise, but obviously you're teaching yourself all of it, which I mean, to me that's the coolest thing about just owning your own operation, your own business, is that you just get to you have an excuse to dive into everything.
Definitely. And like I mean, like I pretty much do everything other than like I get a ton of help from obviously Swarks helped out a ton, and Matt Uren, who went to school with us as well, who's been doing a ton of photography, and like he's unreal at that as well. But I guess like from starting the business, I had a friend that was doing like the product photography, and it was kind of like annoying, like just bringing stuff over, and she ended up like moving too, and I was like, maybe it's my chance to maybe like I was starting to get interested in like the photography and stuff, and maybe like it was time to like invest in like my own camera where I could like take some pictures more so like for the product photography, because I don't know, it would just make it a lot easier if like I had like a little set like at my place or whatever to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of teaching myself like pretty much like everything for the business except for like the accounting part, like that's still not my forte. Just
you have someone else obviously doing that.
Fair enough. Other than that, customer service, like packing the orders, like I still it's like enough to keep me busy for like the whole day. Like I could probably hire someone at this point, but like I enjoy everything so far. Till it like really ramps up, like maybe I'll consider that at some point. But
fair enough. I mean, you don't need to solve a problem that
it
doesn't need to be solved, right? Like it isn't even really there. So I'm kind of curious, like you seem like a really high functioning person. Like you obviously stay on top of your health, you stay on top of your business, you stay on top of the other things that you're talking about, like the firefighting and still doing volunteer work a lot. Like that's one thing that I honestly, some people find it really discouraging, but I worked at a co-working space when I was working at an agency here in London. I was working, do you know Tyler Bryden?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was working with him.
Okay.
For a bit here. And and that was one thing that was, it's a co-working space where it's all people with small businesses. They're all like doing decently well. They've been around for a few years to be able to afford to be in there. and everyone is just grinding.
Yeah.
Like everyone works hard, you know, like I know a lot of people who are trying to kind of make their own businesses, but they don't think that that's how it works. They think they can avoid that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like you might strike an opportunity and get lucky, but people who are working all the time, it's not that they are putting too much effort in. They're just creating more opportunities to strike it lucky, you know, even if luck is a factor.
Definitely.
But
And I'm not going to lie with, in terms of luck, like starting the business, obviously like having my brother who played for the Knights with guys like Max Domi and Bor Horvat, being friends with Nate Bulio, all guys who have like huge followings on Instagram where it's turned into a platform where you can literally take an idea and turn it into a business, like if that's apparel or even like if you wanted to be like a photographer or I don't know, like any type of business that you could just start on Instagram. But they definitely provided like a spark, like right from the get-go to like getting them some stuff right away to post, which was obviously like pretty huge.
yeah. I feel like that gave you, I mean, I think even when you first started the company, we got together because I was like, what's going on? I got to hear about this.
Yeah.
Because I'm so interested in this thing,
Yeah.
you know. I'm always kind of scheming what's coming next for me. And I have a side business where I make some money and I'm kind of getting ready to do something of my own at some point. But yeah, like, so I've basically been kind of watching it all along, just kind of like studying it. And I do this with a lot of people. But yeah, that gave you like, I think just the social trust that it was a good thing. Like
Definitely.
people would scroll to your social channels and be like, oh, good videos, good people, good following. Like it's something good here. And you immediately have that like social proof.
For sure.
Which is like such an awesome tool right off the start, right?
100%. Just the final thing for like the Instagram is just getting that verified badge, which is, I think I apply like every week and like always get rejected, but I'm still trying to figure out Instagram.
Yeah, you don't have that yet.
No.
Really?
Yeah. I guess it doesn't matter about your followers. You could have like 1,000 followers and I don't know, like have like a verified badge, but I don't know. I guess if it's someone like trying to like impersonate you or something like that, but definitely would look like a lot better on the business for sure.
Yeah.
For that to
I can only assume that it's just a matter of time. At this point, it's like it is a full-on real business, like supporting you and a lot of other things. So
yeah,
that's a tricky one. Those are things that don't cross my mind, you know?
I think like when you see a business, or obviously it just makes it look a little even more legit, like with that blue check mark.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion.
No, it does. It does. So yeah, I'm kind of curious, like when you first started this company, when it wasn't quite to where it is now, like I know a lot of friends who run their own businesses. Things go up and down. There are like terrifying moments where you're like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, it's like every week it's an up and down roller coaster.
Yeah, and it's like almost just like a crazy experience even for your emotions and your mental health. But
yeah,
like
yeah, I agree.
I think the look on your face kind of says it all.
Yeah.
But how did you get through that? How did you deal with that? Because I think that's kind of the point where a lot of people choose to back out. The people who are going to back out either way.
Yeah.
And then there are people who they don't really let that get to them, or they have tools for maintaining their mindset. I don't know if that's like going to the gym is for you. I mean, it is for me.
Yeah, 100%. And like this is a really good topic. I actually was pretty open to wanting to like talk about something like this. Like going to the gym obviously like takes my mind away from everything, like kind of where I can like think of like new ideas and stuff like that, but like I just try to kind of like clear my mind in the gym, like you said, with like doing yoga and stuff. Like I do yoga every morning, like first thing.
Okay. Cool.
Before going to bed, like phone on like night mode. I'll like leave it like out of my room too, so there's no like vibrations or anything like that.
Yeah.
That like kind of like makes me just like clears my head like before bed, and like I'm not like reaching for my phone at night and stuff. Like just shut it completely down. First thing in the morning, yoga, and then like maybe like I'll go like right to the gym after, and then it's like work like straight till like whenever, like at night or whatever. And then love watching like NFL Network just to like clear my head or whatever. But
something relaxing.
Yeah, I'm a big NFL fan for sure, which definitely like, just like a nice time to
like wind down.
Just wind down and do that. But
do you find that you struggle to wind down? I find a lot of people, myself included, just people who are, I think, high producers.
Yeah,
have a hard time with that.
I definitely find it hard sometimes. Like I definitely like get like anxious like quite a bit. Like especially if things are like going a little sideways, like it's hard to like I have to like fix it like as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And like I can't like settle down until like that problem's sorted out.
Yeah.
Type thing. Trying to think of like a few examples. But like you said, like in terms of like a roller coaster ride and like mental health, like how I like manage it and stuff, I guess like having like a support system, like my family, my brother, like I can talk to, stuff like that, has definitely like been really helpful. Because like I guess like running a business and like having it just be me, it's hard to kind of like relate to like it's not like a 9 to 5 job. Like there's no one really in your circle like that like knows what like is going on. There's not many people that can kind of like relate to like your situation and like what you're dealing with like on a day-to-day basis. And like every day is completely different, and like one day like will be really positive and the next day could be like really downhill. And there's obviously like I'm not gonna lie, there's been like times like where is like what am I like, why am I even doing this? And then like the next day will like be like an answer that's like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this, and like just keep like chipping away. And hopefully it all works out one day where like I wouldn't be still pushing this brand, and like this is my full-time focus. Like if I didn't think it had potential to be like a potential global brand, then I probably would have shut it down a while ago, or tried to sell it or something. But
yeah, fair enough. I mean, from my end, I'm an outsider, but I think it completely has that kind of potential, you know? It's a pretty rare thing you have going on. I think in the space that you're in, not many people try and do what you're doing quite the same way. Maybe you know that better than I do, but I mean, growing up myself as basically a competitive snowboarder, like people try in that industry, there's like every city has like 10 people trying to start a clothing brand. It's like an impossible thing in that industry to actually make it work. It's very challenging.
It's super challenging. Like I definitely get like people asking like how I can start it. And again, like going back to the luck thing, like I personally like looking back, like I don't think like if I had some of the connections I did like right off the get-go, like I don't know if I would have started the brand. So it was that kind of little boost like right off the get-go that's kind of created like a snowball effect with like connecting with more athletes and more like professional athletes, like reaching out and saying, hey, like can you send some stuff, like I'll post and stuff like that, which has helped propel the brand and like help the brand continue to grow. And it's definitely something that's you see like all these like new brands like coming out, but it's tough. Like I don't know what to really say about it, but it's definitely not easy. Like it's not easy. That's all I can really
No,
elaborate on
yeah,
that for sure.
yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's kind of what I figured you would say.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think obviously you had those connections to start, but you have a pretty good eye for these things. Like
Yeah.
you were just showing me some of your new stuff, and it's like it's cutting edge. Like cutting edge is such a weird word to use with trends, but I mean, like things are always changing. It seems like you're always changing with them, but you
Definitely.
also have a good eye for like what people like.
Yeah.
Which is like it's the whole concept of people just picking industries and jobs that are just right for them.
For sure.
You know, if you have an eye for video, then you're gonna do well in that. If you have
Yeah.
an eye for clothing and trends and what kind
All
of
that.
things people aren't capitalizing on that are maybe still open, then like it's the right fit for you, you know?
For sure. Yeah, now I'll kind of basically with the brand too, and it's the clothing. Obviously, I'm not going to create clothing that I'm not going to wear, and I'm not going to send out clothing that's bad, like that I'm not wearing. It's like I'm creating like it's the name on the shirt as well. Like obviously the apparel's good quality stuff, like obviously striving to create like high quality clothing, but it's kind of the design and the name, like bCLUTCH is why people would consider buying the brand over another brand. I think just the logo and the name kind of and the message kind of speaks for itself and is a reason why people might choose bCLUTCH instead of another brand.
Yeah.
Thing as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I honestly, I came in here to kind of, I mean, obviously to talk about all of the things that you're doing, but I didn't expect you to say that you do yoga every morning. I expected you to the gym to be kind of your outlet.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's such an interesting thing for me. It surprises me every time because I've had this podcast now for, I don't know, it's getting to be like maybe a year or so.
Yeah.
A little less than a year. And sometimes I think that I'm just being biased with it because I'm interviewing people who work in kind of the meditation mindfulness industry. I interview a lot of people who run large yoga businesses or people who are big meditators right off the start. But there's always the people who I'm not really expecting to say it, to talk about those things, and they all kind of mention it too. It's like a really common theme. One guy who I interviewed, his name's Max Eberhardt. He used to be one of the best slopestyle snowboarders in the world.
Really?
Like he was kind of one of those guys paving the way.
Yeah.
He was from Canada. And he just had too many head injuries and had to retire. And when Drake's new album, or not Drake's new album, when Scorpion came out, he just randomly started posting about how he produced a song on the album. And I messaged him and I was asking him, I was like, what? Like, how did this happen? You were a pro snowboarder last year and now you're producing music for Drake himself. And yeah, he just moved to Toronto, immediately started trying to produce music. And in like 6 months, he was signed by OVO and he's producing music for Drake. And I interviewed him because I was like, what's your story, man? How did you do this? And he was like, dude, I moved here and I just focused in. And I focused in by doing like, I meditated or did yoga every morning. And I journaled like every day. And that was when I kind of was mind blown. I was like, holy shit, I would have never guessed that this guy's doing this. He's in like the studio with rappers. And he's like a huge meditator, you know?
That's sick.
It's just like an interesting thing every time I hear it.
Yeah, there's the yoga mat right there.
Oh yeah, right in the corner there. Not bad.
But yeah, I just follow a program online and it's about like 30 minutes of like stretching with nice like relaxing music in the background. And I'll just sit down on the floor here and just do that first thing in the morning.
Nice.
It's definitely like a great way to start the day.
It's a way to start it, man.
Yeah, I love it.
It's funny, I was just catching up with my dad because I haven't been in London for a bit. He just got back from India and he has one of those like sound healing bowls. Like sometimes you go to yoga classes and someone's like playing it in the corner or something. And yeah, he's just all open-minded about all these like Eastern medicine type things all of a sudden just because he did a trip to India.
That's cool.
It's like cool seeing people in his generation get to that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when it comes to bCLUTCH and where you're at now, I'm sure you've learned a ton of things, including like all the nitty gritty skills of running a business, sales. Obviously, how to create clothing and get samples and design was probably one of the biggest ones. But if you had to pick a few like major lessons that you kind of learned throughout this period up until now, if you had to narrow them down to a few major things, like what would they be?
I would say number one, like if you can learn like every single thing, like you just said, like doing like the designing, like the customer service, like the packing orders, and not having to resort to get another person to do something like that, then like that would definitely be helpful right from the get-go, and something like you could learn to enjoy like doing all those things, and that would keep you busy like day to day. In terms of like the apparel, obviously I'm doing this like 2.5 years now. I've definitely learned like what works and what doesn't in terms of that. So there's been like hats that I've released that don't sell well as other hats. So like maybe like a full on like camo hat that I like released didn't do that great. So I won't bring another full on camo hat back again type thing. Trying to think of anything else that, because obviously again, like every day's completely different with like new challenges. I'm trying to think, did you have any questions like that you were wondering, like where there could be like some potential challenges?
Nothing really in particular. I think it was more like
the big hurdles that like,
yeah, like what would have been the big hurdles?
I guess like going deeper, obviously, like as a startup business, I've been lucky. Like I've been able to raise over like 50,000 for the business. So obviously, learning to manage cash flow like more properly, and obviously like I'm just a startup. Like I'm one person. I only have like a certain amount of budget for like each like line like throughout the year, and there's obviously so much more like I want to release, but like I know like I have to like pick a few from like, maybe I'll get like 10 samples, like 4 t-shirts, a couple sweaters, like joggers, like a ton of hats. Maybe I'll pick like 4 or 5 like to release in like a collection. And I've definitely learned when I first got some funding through the Propel Accelerator at Western. Like I just wanted I guess like the biggest thing in terms of like clothing, especially as a startup, I've learned is like less is more. Like having maybe like a few options of like t-shirts and hoodies compared to like a lot, especially as a startup, it just gives like customers more options, and then you're going to be left with probably like a lot more stock that's going to be harder to like get rid of.
That's a good point.
So when you have like all those options, so I definitely I would say like the biggest thing is not having a whole ton of options, and from there, like with the experience I've gained, like I kind of know what works and like what's going to sell. So I just like picked maybe the most like simple, like this is just like a navy, the t-shirt I'm wearing right now is just simple like dark navy, says bCLUTCH, like has the bCLUTCH logo on the side. It's just a nice like t-shirt that is going to sell better than if I came out with like an orange version of this one. Like what, it just wouldn't make sense really to have, like the navy would probably sell better than the orange in my opinion, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and I kind of learned like the color schemes, like being like black, white, navy. I already know like there's like I've already planned like the fall collection and have a nice like maroon hoodie that's just gonna say like bCLUTCH, like stitched like small with like a nice white string.
Nice. The simple look, it's like
Yeah.
always a good way to go.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been seeing like a lot of maroon hoodies lately, and I think like will look like really clean with like a nice white string and just like a simple like stitched small logo like right there, and looking forward to that for sure.
Cool. Yes, I mean, I find a lot of the people like you who have made it work follow the, like, have you heard the 80-20 principle? Mm-hmm. It's, you know, you guys are, even if it's subconscious, you guys seem to master that, where you start putting all your time in the 20% of your business that's actually driving 80% of the results.
Yeah.
You know? And like, that is really how it works. Yeah. But I think everyone gets caught up in trying to make all the not working parts work.
Yeah.
Which is just a waste of energy, kind of.
Definitely. And I actually saw that on like Gary Vee the other day. Like he posted, do you follow Gary Vee?
Kind of.
Like,
He's a bit repetitive for me at times, but
yeah,
I like the message.
It's like the same thing, but like every once in a while he'll have like a piece of content, like a post that like is like actually like I'll click save and like screenshot or whatever, and like I don't know, like going back to like the journal thing, I don't know, like write that idea down type thing. But he was saying like the whole idea of, as like for example, like for my business being like strictly involved in like Instagram, I have like a Twitter account, I have like a Facebook account. Obviously like I try to attend events like when I can. Most events like you'll have to pay like a fee. For example, like a big like road hockey tournament or a big like CrossFit event, like they'll charge you like anywhere from like $800 to like $1,200 just to set up there. So like doing that, like you're just going like paying to like make your money back and some, and obviously like brand exposure. But I've just found that Instagram has been the platform that works the best, but I'll put some time into, obviously I was telling you about like the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Just trying to create like a little extra content that might be interesting, even if it's for some people. I'm sure not everyone's going to hop on the bCLUTCH YouTube channel that I'm doing, but it's just a small percent that I'm focusing on compared to like the larger percent where obviously like the Instagram and everything else I'm doing is like the main like drive.
Yeah. So do you pre-program all your posts on Instagram, or do you do that all manually?
Everything is pretty much manually, I would say. Like obviously there's Hootsuite, but it's I'm really like go with the flow in terms of that.
Yeah.
And if something, going back to like designing of the clothes, like there's obviously brands, like the larger brands have, so what is it now, like spring 2019, larger brands like already have their like spring summer collection for 2020 like planned out. And like I don't know, like because trends are like always like switching up like here and there. Like I don't know, like I can't look that far like ahead to like know what's gonna be cool. Like I know, like, have you seen like the waist bags, like fanny packs?
Yeah.
Like what cross body bags, and
yeah.
like what do you think of those?
I mean, I live in the west end of Toronto, where like everyone's wearing them.
Yeah, like you would say like they're definitely like trending right now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I have a waist bag like that's coming in like the next like couple weeks that I designed that I'm actually like pretty excited about. But like I just saw like the opportunity, like it was kind of like I had the budget, like going back to like how I like kind of spend and like maintain like the cash flow and everything. I just saw it was something that was trending and something that's like a cool like spring and summer product. So and then once I get that, I'll just manually post like maybe within like a few days, like after doing like the product pictures and everything like that it's a good time to throw up the release of like the waist bag.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean that's what I mean. Like I'm just always kind of taking a notice of the kind of stuff you're posting, because it's neat what you're doing. Like you're on trend. So I hate even saying on trend. To me, that like sounds like so like corny, but you're just like following what's happening all around with styles and things. And that's like a
Definitely.
perfect example of it. Like, I didn't even know you were doing that, but you were just showing me the hat that you're wearing and some of the other things.
And I think that the hat that I'm wearing now that I was showing you, it's like full perforated. I don't know, you can't find this type of hat that like I designed. Like, I don't know, I was just kind of playing around. Like, it's just a super rare hat that.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you this. This is kind of a thought that I'm just having now, but when I first started writing, I literally started writing because I was on like a trip in Central America with my torn ACL, like waiting for surgery, and I was kind of talking to people because I didn't know what to do with my life. This was like immediately after university, you know, your classic, what do I do next stage.
Yeah.
And I just started writing to beef up my resume. And then I just got really interested in it. And it's become a skill of mine that has basically got me some pretty cool opportunities and whatever. It's what spawned all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But at first, I used to really struggle to come up with concepts and ideas. And now I just play around with ideas and business thoughts, and it just comes to me almost naturally.
Yeah.
And since reading a lot of books about the human mind and how the human mind just creates pathways based on what you're doing, you know, like we're totally creatures of habit.
Yeah.
But creativity is literally a skill. Like most people think that you're either a born a creative person or not, but it's like, I don't know if you had this where you first started trying to come out with stuff and maybe you're trying to think outside the box, and now you just naturally think that way and it just comes to you naturally.
Yeah, it just kind of comes naturally. I think like going back, I would like to think of myself as a creative person, and like obviously arts is like a very broad what's it called, like broad category. Like when I think of arts, like I think of like music. I love music, but and like you said you're getting like your writing has turned into like a major skill for you. Like I don't think like I could write like, or like what am I trying to say with this, like with like you have to kind of teach yourself those things, I guess, if I wanted
those
to.
are more kind of skills. It's just, yeah, you're right, they're like things you develop
Like, and it just it obviously doesn't happen overnight type thing.
Yeah. You have a lot of things going on right now, and your business is doing better than ever. So I guess this is two separate questions, but I was just going to ask you, like, what's your vision for what's coming next, or how you want this to shape into a bigger business, or maybe like how you want your lifestyle to change? Yeah, I'll just ask that, and then I'll get to the next one right after.
I think in terms of like where I see the business, I mean, I'd be lying if I said, like I didn't want the business to be a global brand. But for it to be a global brand, like I would need some help for sure. Like I can't do that myself. Like what I'm doing now is perfect. The perfect amount of work for me to stay busy every single day and like keep chipping away to keep growing the brand, slowly but surely, growing sales, not remaining like stagnant is something. Obviously I always look back from, I was telling you before the podcast that like January 2019 to January 2018, like I always like looking back on kind of how far I've come in terms of sales and website traffic and all that, and like orders, like something like I've been diving into like more of like the analytics and learning stuff like that. So it's always pretty cool to see like every month from like the year before. So like January 2019 compared to January 2018, like doubling sales. February 2019 compared to February 2018, like doubled sales from that month before. And already doing a lot better in March 2019 compared to last year's March 2018. So I just want to keep, like I'm having fun with what I'm doing right now and growing the brand. And obviously, like we were saying with luck and I just want to keep grinding it and chipping away and having fun with it. And hopefully one day down the road, there could be a potential like buyout opportunity where, say, a bigger brand could potentially have interest in the bCLUTCH name and logo and the message and stuff like that, where they're something like that, they could take it to the next level where I can't really, like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, just to have the resources like
Just
that,
just to
right?
have the resources, like, for example, like, if, like, I'd be lying again if I said, like you look at Nike, they own a ton of like different companies like Billabong, or no, maybe not Billabong, but like Hurley. They have a bunch of
Yeah.
different sub brands, and like a ton of like larger brands have sub brands. And I could see bCLUTCH potentially being bought out by a large brand that would be a sub brand or a sister brother brand of that company.
Yeah, and I can think of a
And
lot of brands that it would fit in with
yeah,
too. That's the thing.
yeah. So that's kind of the goal. Obviously, how does that happen? I don't know. Just got to keep connecting and just grinding and building the brand. And
No, for sure, man. I think if you keep going, like obviously things are just gonna continue to grow at like an exponential rate,
yeah,
which is what's happening. So ride the momentum. I mean, it's an exciting time. So the last question I'll just ask you is what I mean, you're obviously keeping up with people like Gary Vee and a lot of different people in the industry and learning a lot of things from other sources. Like what or who is inspiring you these days? I feel like people who are doing these things obviously are inspired to kind of pursue their own path for a reason, you know.
yeah,
So I'm always curious to hear what people have to say about that.
yeah, for sure. I would say a few different people. Like as of recently, I would definitely say Gary Vee. Just in terms of like a motivational business post every day has always been pretty inspiring, I guess. I don't know if have you heard of Peter McKinnon?
I haven't.
But yeah, he's like a big YouTuber. I've been watching like his YouTube videos for the last like 6 months now, and he's does like a lot of like videography and photography and like basically just gives out like tips. He posts like unreal content, but I've been following him on like a regular basis. He posts about like 2 or 3 different like YouTube episodes like every week, and he's been like a pretty good follow, or like an amazing follow in terms of helping me post like better content for the business as well, which obviously better content leads to more sales. Like if I was just to take an iPhone picture of like the hat I'm wearing on like a ledge in this condo place that I'm living, like it wouldn't look as good as say like going out with the camera I invested in a cool like downtown setting or nice country setting or something with an actual like subject. But yeah, I would say Peter McKinnon and Gary Vee. There's obviously a bunch of brands out there that obviously like provide some inspiration in terms of designing for the company. Like obviously in London, like there's Ilberry and Goose, and I don't know, I don't know the owner or anything. Like I've never, I'm not gonna lie, I've never actually like bought any like Ilberry and Goose, but like I know what he's doing is obviously like pretty cool. Like he's built a pretty sweet brand as well. Like obviously,
Yeah.
I don't even see like bCLUTCH as competition because our brands and like messages are like completely different. I would say.
I agree. For sure.
But yeah, I think he has a cool brand for sure as well. But yeah, I would say it's just a few people like my brother. Brother works super hard, gives me good advice. Like we talk about it, like every day. Like whenever he has a question or whenever I have a question or if he's feeling down or if I'm feeling down, like we'll talk like pretty consistently. So he's been a big help for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's going to be pretty much the hour mark. So it seems like a good place to cut it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you're up to next and just see how things keep progressing. I know you're doing more and more of the video stuff on your own, and it's cool to see that stuff coming out as well. So, yeah, thanks for doing this episode, man.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
I might have to try on some stuff before I leave.
Yeah.